Good afternoon, everyone. We will start this webinar in a couple of minutes once we have the rest of the attendees joining us. Bear with us for a couple of minutes, please, and we start. Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to this webinar about the energy storage solution for mini-grid market applications with focus on Sub-Saharan Africa. This webinar is sponsored by Jinko Solar, the leading global energy company that is active in solar PV, energy storage, among other energy applications. If you were not able to join us today via Zoom, or if you have friends that cannot join us through Zoom, please invite them to join our Jinko Solar Sub-Saharan Africa Facebook page. I have just posted the link in the chat section. We are broadcasting this webinar on that Facebook page as well, so they can join that page and watch this live broadcast from there, and a lot of very useful material and content about solar and energy storage that is being published there regularly by the Jinko Solar team. I wish to first of all inform you that this will be also broadcasted on YouTube and on LinkedIn for the Solar Arabic pages, so you are also welcome to join us there, and the recording will be available on the YouTube channel as well. A couple of admin topics before we start. If you please inform me if you can hear me clearly through the chat function, please. If you just write me on the chat, or if you are watching from social media, then in the comment section under the video, please just write me if you can hear me clearly. Looking forward to get some responses that you can hear me, please, in the chat. Clear. Patricia, thank you very much for the confirmation. Perfect. Thank you all. Safa Muhammad, thank you for confirming. Abdullah, thank you for confirming. That's great. Then we can move ahead. And soon after my section, I will share the links to the other social media channels, so you can also join us. I will share that on the chat. So the next topic, please, is for our questions. I encourage you a lot that you write your questions in the Q&A section so we don't lose them, so we can track them and for sure answer you today. And please don't postpone it till the end. Just write them whenever you have the question. We will take note of it and we will answer you in the end of the session in the last 15 minutes. So please send it as soon as you get the question, and that would be great. So first of all, first things first, introductions. So my name is Munif Barakat, and I am an engineer from the Solar Arabic platform, which is the biggest renewable energy platform focused on the Middle East and African region. I'm pleased today to have two of the renewable energy pioneers and very active people in the Sub-Saharan Africa. First, I'm introducing Mr. Sami Boroti, which is the Business Development Manager at Jinko Solar. He's an experienced technical sales engineer with a demonstrated history of working as a global specialist in energy management and automation companies with operations in more than 100 countries. I'm very happy to welcome you, Mr. Sami. And then we also have Mr. Titus Kosh, who is the Technical Services Manager for the Sub-Saharan region for Jinko Solar. Titus is an experienced electrical engineer with Master of Science in Renewable Energy, has a demonstrated history of working in the renewable energy sector, manufacturing industry, and the power sector. So today, my both speakers will be covering interesting topics. We'll be making first of all an introduction to the BESS technology, the battery energy storage solutions. Then we'll be speaking about applications of the energy storage for the mini grids with focus on Sub-Saharan Africa. And then we will talk about the energy storage solution that is offered from Jinko Solar, so you can learn more about it and know what Jinko Solar is offering. And then the team will share with you a couple of case studies from the region, from the African region, where the Jinko Solar energy storage solutions were used. With this, I think I'm done with this introduction and telling you a little bit about what are we going today. But before I hand over to my first guest, Mr. Titus, I want to share a couple of questions for you, please, to learn more about where are you joining us from. So if you please just answer the following poll. You should see it on your screen if you are on Zoom. And if you are watching us on social media, please write in the comment section. Tell us where are you joining us from today, just to know the demographics. I see that we have people from West Africa, Southern Africa, East Africa, Northern Africa, and the Middle East as well. I'm happy to have the biggest percentage, I think, is still now from Eastern Africa. So I'm so happy alongside Southern Africa. I'm very happy to have you all with us and looking forward to have a very nice session, very informative session where we'll learn a lot from the experience of our speakers. And before the second question that I have is your industry. If you can please tell us what is your background or industry, and also for the people who are watching on social media, please write in the comment section. Do you work for a developer, an EPC? Are you a solar installer or a company that is specialized in batteries, or from financing probably, OEMs? Just give us a feeling about your industry so we can also tailor this content as we move forward in this presentation. I see that the biggest percentage is from solar installers, and there is approximately also 1/4 from the people who are attending us are from working for developers and EPCs. So thank you for participating in these questions. Now we know a little bit more about you, and we can kick off this webinar with Mr. Titus telling us about the technical side of this technology, talking about the energy storage solutions and the reference projects that Jinko Solar has in the region. So I'm seeing your camera, Titus. Hello. And you are...
Hello, hi, Munif.
Hi, Titus. I can hear you clearly. If you please share your screen, and then you can start, please.
Thank you so much, Munif, for the kind introduction. And of course, thank you again for having us today for this webinar that is from last time. So I'm really hoping that this 1 hour session will be really productive for every one of us. And also we're going to also learn from our attendees from the different questions. And Yeah, and again, so as I said, that we are going to have a question and answer session at the end of this presentation. So my presentation basically will discuss about there is mini grids and also look into the different solutions that are actually available that is from us as a manufacturer. So I want to give so much background of Jinko Solar. It's my colleague who's going to come in the next presentation, going to give some brief overview. But now, without further ado, I want to directly dive into today's presentation and give you just some brief overview of mini grids and different applications as well, and also the different technologies that we are looking into. So is that one is what's a mini grid? So a mini grid is essentially I would say that a mini grid is a set of interconnected loads. That is, within that loads that mean different loads, either DC or AC, with regards to customers. Then we also looking into different distributed energy resources, or what we refer to as DERs. And these distributed energy resources will include different sources of energy, or rather energy generators, and also energy storage devices. And also with the classification is that for energy generators, we're looking into different types of energy generators, which can either be renewable or non-renewable. And again, is that for the energy storage devices, it makes a lot of sense, especially while working with renewable energy resources like wind, solar PV, and also for the cases of hydro, including other sources of renewable energy sources. The reason being that most of these renewable energy sources are intermittent, and therefore this needs to store energy. And the other thing about mini grids is that it's also an integrated system. It's also an integrated system in that it can actually directly work with, or rather work in parallel with the utility grid. And the reason for that is that it's always good to give such an allowance for a case whereby maybe for the future, maybe there might be need to do grid expansion. Then that means that it should also be having the capability as well. And also the other option is that, which is actually most common in the Sub-Saharan Africa region, is the fact that it can actually work in the Icelandic mode, or rather in an isolated mode. So this makes a lot of sense, especially in areas where we are having zero access to electricity, and this needs to provide a local grid. So as you can see from this block diagram, is that we can see the different sources of energy, or rather the different DERs. That is all the way from solar PV to wind power, biogas, and also diesel gensets, which is an unrenewable energy source of power. Then we have a centralized power system supply, where we're combining all the energy sources. And from this is that we also have the loads, that is from the customer side. You can see from these buildings, where we have also all the loads being interconnected. That is through now the distribution network, or with the distribution network can either be either low voltage, and also in some instances, depending on the distance between the different customers from the power supply, it can also be medium voltage, so as to avert power losses that is associated with very long distribution lines as well. So that is just some brief overview. And most of the mini grids in Sub-Saharan Africa usually off grid, but also in some instances, like in some regions where these poor grids, like most of agricultural facilities, and this needs to stabilize the power, that is now to enhance the power quality. So we can also have mini grids for applications for that is ancillary services, like now let's say frequency stabilization, also voltage stabilization as well. So it will also make some bit of sense. But now what we're going to focus mostly today is mostly on the Icelandic application of mini grids. And why is it that mini grids are making some bit of economic sense is that ideally looking into the electricity access rate in Sub-Saharan Africa, and it's still quite low. In that, from the assessment from World Bank, is that the electricity access rate is actually still less than 50%. That is less than half of the population actually currently do not have access to electricity. But again, is that yes, that's a challenge, but we've seen tremendous development with most of the governments in Sub-Saharan Africa. Like for the case of Kenya and Uganda, is that in comparing now from the results from 2019 in comparison to what was there in 2010, is that the annual growth rate of electricity access is actually more than 3%. So that means that ideally it makes a lot of sense that we might actually get to almost 100% in the next few years. And also you look into also other countries that based on the data shared is that the growth rate that is in terms of electricity access is actually exceeds or rather surpasses the population growth there as well. That is also one of the key point indicator that we are headed in the right direction. And that is just some few case studies. There are so many other case studies for different other countries. But now again is that why is that happening, and how is that happening? Because this more of, I would say, an integrated approach in that there are many solutions that are coming up, and one of the solutions is actually mini grid solutions who are proved to be viable in the past few years. And you'll find also that just in summary is that solar home systems, that is now with regards to Pico solar systems, have been dominant in the region, most of the countries, and have been actually offering power mostly for residential use. But you find that the limitation is that they cannot really offer power for commercial use, like for use in either hospitals, schools, and other commercial facilities. So now is that mini grids in this case come as a complementary solution to the solar home systems. And again is that with the current state is that what is really making sense is what is the main concern with regards to mini grids is mostly there is reliability of supply. So most of the existing mini grids currently are mostly from using diesel in most of the parts. That is because of availability of diesel gensets and also availability of diesel as well. But for the past few years, that is proven to be of high cost because of the cost of maintenance, and also the fluctuations in the prices of diesel as well makes it very quite costly to maintain as well and operate the diesel mini grid sites. And now with the developments in the solar PV industry, and also with the energy storage, with the battery storage technologies, different battery storage technologies coming up, is that solar PV and energy storage is now making a lot of sense because of some key pointers, which includes that is reliability and also stability of the power supply from solar PV and energy storage solutions because of the low maintenance. And also looking generally into the cost of the solution, that is PV plus energy storage, it also still makes a lot of sense. The key hardware components for solar PV and energy storage mini grids actually the solar PV modules and the battery storage and the batteries. And you find that with the global trends is that if you look into the cost of the PV modules for the last few years, is that it's actually been on a downward trend, and we're now seeing of modules of even less than $30 that is 30 cents per watt. And also now also the cost of storage as well is also going low. There's also advancement in technology, not only the initial cost. So looking into generally the cost of energy and also the levelized cost of storage is also becoming very competitive compared to most of other sources of energy for diesel mini grids. The other thing is that also is that we can say generally is that the sun is free in Africa, and with the estimations from IRENA is that this huge solar PV potential in Sub-Saharan Africa that will reach up to actually close to more than 500 plus terawatt hours. And the other thing is that also with this, yes, some other people have been, or rather some other countries or other governments been considering grid extension, but looking into the cost of grid extension been quite expensive, which might not be sustainable with the current preferred tariffs. And yeah, now is it so what makes sense is ideally mini grids for productive use. So what do you mean in this case is based on the analysis that looking into the different costs of solutions for different mini grids, looking into the tariffs, which really matters to the end user, is that based on this analysis from Bloomberg, we can see that there are different tariff ranges based on different solutions. Like now, for just the normal retail tariffs, we also have tariffs including the cost of grid extension. We also have the cost of that is local microgrids. We also have with microgrids as well. And now, for the case of mini grids in this case, is that there are actually two main applications of mini grids that we're going to look into. That is, one is that we have the application scenario where we have a totally off-grid system. That is, now we're using the system only for electricity access. Then we also have the other aspect of using the mini grid for ancillary services, like now for demand response. And ancillary like frequency response. There's also voltage stabilization, etc., and also demand response as well. So looking into the different costs is that you find that combining solar PV with energy storage still makes a lot of sense. You can see the ranges in terms of tariff cost that is actually projected that this is actually going to be less than this is actually going to be less than $0.4 that is per kilowatt hour, which to me it still makes a lot of economic sense. But again, is that most of the mini grids that we have currently is that the tariffs would make more sense if the mini grids are actually anchored on anchor loads. Now that having key commercial activities happening in the places where we're having the mini grids. So the purpose is that having commercial operations happening is that we get to increase the daytime load, because most of the commercial facilities usually work during the day, and increasing the daytime load, that means that we get to also increase the solar PV maximization. With increasing the solar PV maximization, generally this will lead to reduced cost of energy, and this will reflect to the cost of the tariffs as well. And again, because even with the previous mini grids that mostly for domestic use, or rather most for household consumption, is that the demand actually been quite high, especially in the evening from around 6 p.m. To around 10 p.m., where most households are back to most of the people are actually back to the households. But now increasing the access, or rather having anchor loads, or rather commercial operations during the day, that is actually going to increase the PV penetration and reduce the overall cost. And looking at generally, that is from still from Bloomberg, is that the average revenue per user currently in Sub-Saharan Africa is between 3 to 12 US dollars, $3 to 12 US dollars. That is per month. That is with regards to the average revenue per person. That is per user. That is per month. And the other thing that generally is that lead-acid JESS has been dominant in the region for, would say that for the longest time, and JESS is still dominant. But also we are seeing fast-growing technologies like now lithium iron phosphate that is also gaining traction because of advantages that we are also going to discuss in comparisons to lead-acid technologies. And yeah, the other thing is also on the levelized cost of storage globally. You can see, as mentioned earlier, is that the cost of storage is really going low. Like now, focusing more on the behind the meter energy storage solutions, is that we find that for standalone storage, we are looking into storage that is price range between 432 to 590. That is according to this report from Lassard and Roland. And it also comes out clearly that adding in PV plus storage, you generally the cost goes lower. That is, you can see now between $247 to $319 per kilowatt hour, which to me it really makes more economic sense. And we can see that these costs are still going lower and lower each now and then. And in my next slide is that I want to just show you briefly on what is really happening. As I said, is that a huge chunk of the cost of the mini grids, or rather the initial capex, is actually the cost of the battery and the solar PV. Then from the general trend is that the total cost of the PV is going low compared to, let's say, the cost 10 years ago. And also this trend has also happened, is also happening currently for battery storage technologies. And generally, this based on the assessment from IRENA is that, and they did this report some few years back, and being in the industry, that we can confirm actually that this is exactly what is happening in the market. And the estimation is that the cost of batteries, that is from battery storage technologies comparing 2016 to the year 2030, is that the cost is going to reduce by more than 60%. And now, from our own analysis and also our own comparison, what is happening in the market currently is that we are at 2021, but that is 5 years from 2016, and the cost is actually has actually reduced by more than close to 30%. That is as at now. So that means that these predictions are actually going to play out. And we can see that, yes, you can see the different technologies all the way from lead acid. We also have say the sodium sulfide. We also have the flow batteries, and also the lithium-ion technologies with the different chemistries. So our main focus now will be on the lithium-ion. And you can see that we have NMC, LMO, and also lithium-ion phosphate, and also LTO as well. And you can see the cost reduction is actually in the order of 60%. That is comparing 2016 and 2030. And we can account this is that in 2016, the total cost per kilowatt hour was in the order of around $600 per kilowatt hour. And you can see that in 2030 is that the cost will actually get to less than $300 per kilowatt hour, because of reduction on that is from the upstream suppliers of the different components of that is the energy storage solutions. So these projections, that means that with regards to the cost, with regards to the annual, that is the initial capex cost of the mini grid is actually going to be lowered, and even it's also going to make more sense. That is economical sense to have mini grids, have more mini grids than do mostly on than venture into grid expansion. And also, this are also a key step, because most of the main grids currently that we have in Sub-Saharan Africa are actually based on actually dependent on subsidies for them to be affordable. But now with this cost reduction, with most of the key hardware equipment, that means that the mini grids will be viable with or without capex. With or without incentives, sorry. Then the other thing is now the different configurations that we have, that is not only from our solutions but also what is available in the market, is that the mini grid is actually with the solar PV plus energy storage solution is that ESS is that we can either have the DC coupled configuration or the AC coupled configuration. And keeping in mind also is that for the main grids available, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa, is that we have different ranges all the way from small kilowatts, let's say less than 100 kilowatts, all the way to the megawatt scale. In that, what we find is that for the DC coupled solution, for this DC coupled configuration, is that we are coupling the PV on the DC side of the power conversion system. We're coupling the PV on the DC side of the power conversion system. So this means that we're actually doing away with the need for having a PV or other string inverters. And we find that this makes more economic sense to have them in small units. That is ideally less than 1 megawatts. The advantages, of course, with this parallel system is actually one is a very high charging efficiency because of the reduced DC AC and also AC DC conversion, and also with regards to the energy management system, it's also way simpler. It's also way simpler compared to the case of AC coupled solutions. And For the case of AC coupled configuration, this would get mostly on regards on how we are tying the PV. Is that we actually tying the PV on the AC side, on the AC side of the power conversion system. So the power conversion system is our reference. So with the AC coupling configurations that we are tying this PV on the AC side of the power conversion system. So usually applications for megawatt scale mini grids that is more than 1 megawatt, and the reasons being that usually have very huge. They're actually suitable for systems that we are looking into expanding in future, and for this AC coupled and also DC coupled solutions that they can actually work in but that is both the on-grid and also the off-grid application mode. I can see that there is an allowance to have grid connection. The reason for this is that for instances where we are having grid extension in the future, then that means we can be able to easily integrate as well the grid. And the other thing is that you can also still have different energy sources I mentioned, like now for diesel genset, we can also have still hydro as well, and also maybe wind power as well. So that all that's all can be integrated, and this is that with all these different energy sources, you can also still do management through the energy management system. So just to give briefly on, yes, we've given some brief overview of the different mini grids and or other applications, and now is to give on what is Jinko offering to the market. Is that yes, we have solutions. We've been providing solar PV for the longest time, and we are known for solar PV. Then now we doing energy storage integration, and we have our own solutions. And our solutions is that we have solutions for mini grids, and these solutions we have them packaged in we have them packaged in either cabinets or in containers. And the reason why we're doing all this is we're trying to lessen the work for all our customers. And the other thing is that we have all the containers. That is, we have all the units in a container or in cabinets, and we have also all the integration, all the wiring done. That is our factory in China. And as you can see, this is just a sectional top view of the container of the different units that we do have. And on the bottom is that we have a typical configuration of how the installation will be done on site. And with regards to the scope of what we provide is that we try to lessen the work at site, in that we try to also minimize on the installation time, on the installation cost, and also on the maintenance cost. And how is that we actually doing all the integration on the factories. So ideally, with this kind of solution where we have all the components installed or rather prepackaged, is that what remains on site is mostly on the civil works that can be that needs to be done on site, and some few cable terminations, like doing the terminations on the AC side of the system, also doing the that is the installation of the solar PV, and also the cabling of the solar PV as well. And now with regards to the standard solutions that we're offering, is that what is common for all the solutions is that these solutions are based on lithium iron phosphate. And the number of cycles that is actually guaranteed is more than 5,000 cycles. So with more than 5,000 cycles, that means that the systems actually born to last for up to close to 15 years. So in comparison to other technologies like lead acid, would actually last for, let's say, 5 years. So the replacement cost was quite reduced as well. And the other thing is that you can also see in terms of transportation is that it's actually reduced because we have all the components in one, either one container, one cabinet, and this with now transportation to a remote site, this can easily be managed. And that thing also is that with regards to the warranties is that it's also some quite robust warranties, because for standard we also giving 5 or 10 years product warranty based on different requirements. The 10 years warranty is usually costed for, because you pay for extension of the warranty from 5 to 10 years. And in comparison now with not only diesel gensets or or rather fossil-based diesel mini grids that, or rather other solutions, is that these are low cost with regards to the maintenance. In that we've managed that we have a very robust monitoring system and also energy management system. And in that we can easily start, we can easily spot the point of error at any given time, and even making the troubleshooting much easier, in that this can be done remotely or on site. And of course, this much easier than the normal existing systems. And now for this different solutions that for many grid applications, that we have solutions all the way from 64 kilowatt hours, and that is for the lower range. For the smaller cabinets, that is less than 4 tons, and this cabinet can actually fit into a 40-foot container. We can have up to 8 units in one 40-foot containers. That is from 64 kilowatt hour to 128 kilowatt hour in the small cabinets. Then we also have units from 64 kilowatt hour all the way to 192 kilowatt hour for the medium-sized cabinets. So these cabinets usually in the order of close to 6 tons, close to 6 to 8 tons. Then these are the cabinet-based solutions. Then we also have that is the containerized solutions. And for the containers, is that we have different sizes of containers, all the way from 10-foot containers, 20-foot containers, and also 40-foot containers. So and also 40-foot containers. So for this, these are the standard solutions, that is up to 2.2 megawatt hour, and the size of the PCS is actually 500 kilowatts. And for the smallest unit, is that the size of the PCS, or rather the power conversion system, is 30 kilowatts. So some few case studies to look into is that yes, we might look like the solutions are new, but really we've been doing piloting for the last like 3 years, and currently we currently having a supply for that is for a mini grid project in Nigeria, that's due for August 2021. This is PV plus energy storage, PV plus energy storage, and you can see that that is the fabrication, the integration is already done and only waiting for shipment. So the size of the system is 1.2 megawatt hour for the battery side, and for the PCS size is 1 kilowatt. Then we also have other solutions as well. These are microgrid in Malawi that is installed in 2018. It's quite a small system, that is 50 kilowatts, 50 kilowatts for the PCS, and 200 kilowatt hour that is for the battery. And yeah, also in other regions as well, that is outside Africa, that's Myanmar, that's system installed in December 2019, that is 50 kilowatt for the PCS, and 200 kilowatt hour for the battery. This actually was used for a village to provide supply to the locals in the region. And you can see the solution is quite simple, and also with the installation is also quite looks more presentable. And yeah, then lastly is that we also have other pilot projects as well, like this one of our first pilot project in China, that is in a factory in China, that is in Shangrao, that is with now PV plus energy storage, and also now that it's actually in the city, we also having grid extension as well. So the size is 400 and this size is 500 kilowatts, and that is for the PCS, 500 kilowatts for the PCS, and 1 megawatt hour for the batteries. So this is just some few case studies from different solutions. So we are still developing. We're hoping that by the end of the year, we'll have also increased the pipelines to have more mini grid projects, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa. And now that's the end of my presentation. Should you have any inquiries with regards to the presentation or the different solutions that we're offering, please feel free to contact us at any given time. And now is that I would like to hand over to Monif, so that can introduce our next speaker, who is my colleague, that is Sami Boroti. Thank you so much, Monif.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Titus. I really appreciate this presentation. Very informative. We learned a lot from you, and it is also exciting, even though the product is new, but you started, let's say, showcasing this product testing it on pilot projects and on big projects as well in Africa, and that's very good, because in the end of the day, the companies that actually tested this technology on the ground, on the Africa, having a local team like Jinko Solar does, are very rare, and that's we're very happy to host you on this call, so we can learn more from you, and hopefully the people that are actually interested in such projects can connect with you. So thank you very much for this explanation, Titus. And for those that are really interested in this technology, wish to learn more about it, especially we get a lot of the questions about pricing and so on, then that will be covered by Sami, who will join us now in this segment to tell us more about the Jinko Solar product and the ways to contact the Jinko Solar team if you are interested to build projects together with the Jinko Solar team with energy storage. Sami, I can see your presentation. If you can please make it full screen and unmute yourself, and then the floor is yours. It is full screen now, perfect. But you still have the mute sign on your microphone.
So you can hear me? I hope
yes,
I'm audible
I can hear
enough.
you now. It's very good. I can hear you now.
So yes, thank you, Moni, for the introduction. So from my end, I'll do more of a recap from what my colleague Titus just mentioned about Jinko Solar. So, and especially now that we are really focusing on the Sub-Saharan market, especially for mini-grid applications. So going directly is that I really want to just highlight who is Jinko Solar is, and we are known to be one of the largest and the most innovative solar module manufacturers in the world. So over the last few years, we have managed to increase our product basket in terms of energy storage and solar water pumping solutions. So in terms of the business working model as Jinko, so in the sub-Saharan market and in Africa at large, so we are working through our distribution channel, whereby we have some distributors based in West Africa. We also have some distributors in the SADC region, that is the Southern Africa, and we also have some distis in East Africa. So in terms of our distribution network, that is the kind of business model that we are looking at. And again, we're also working closely with IPPs in terms of independent power producers and EPCs for utility or commercial scale projects. So in terms of countries of operations where we are based, you can see that we are based all the way from, we have presence all the way from China. We also have some factories in US, Japan, Germany, all the way to Kenya and Nigeria. We have some presence in all those regions. So what we're saying is that as Jinko, we have made sure that we have some presence globally to make sure that we're able to enlarge our market base in all these countries. So meaning that our products are both accepted in the EU, the East African market, and the US market. So as earlier as my colleague mentioned, our main core business has previously been known as solar PV manufacturers, but right now we again, as you can see, we've been known for wafers. We're doing cells and the modules, but again, we also have a very important product that I would like to mention and probably highlight. These are the BIPV, meaning that we have some building integrated photovoltaics for buildings, whereby the modern buildings that are coming up, they also need to save energy in terms of having some proper management system in terms of energy. So we have some solutions in terms of building photovoltaics for integrated structures. So again, we also in the storage space, as my colleague mentioned, the ESS, the energy storage. So as Jinko, we are number one in terms, we have been number one in terms of the global shipment for the last 4 consecutive years. So in terms of delivery globally, we have managed to do more than 70 gigawatts with a market share of 14.3%. Then in terms of records, we have managed to do more than 15 world records. And we have a module capacity in terms of production of 32 gigawatts. And going forward, we're increasing this in terms of so that we're able to serve a market that we are projecting that will be growing exponentially over the coming years. So just to make sure that we give confidence to our partners or to our colleagues is in terms of technology. As Jinko, we have really invested so much in terms of R&D, ensuring that our modules meet the highest quality standards in the market, whereby we mean that our modules are tier 1. So as you can see, we've done more than, we have 632 patents that have fully been approved. Then in terms of the research and development engineers that are on the ground, we are looking at more than 900 plus in terms of engineers and scientists who are working day and night in the lab to make sure that our products are able to meet the highest quality standards in the market. So, and you can see over the last few years, we have managed to achieve module efficiencies of 24, and recently we did achieve module efficiencies of 25 around 25.3%. So we are saying that this is not the highest that we've been able to achieve. So we still have achieved efficiencies of more than 25%. So it's very important just to make sure that partners are able to understand this. So in terms of certification for our products is that previously we have actually been awarded by the PV magazine in terms of recognition. Then you can see that we also been awarded certificates by the EUPD, PVL, and again we also have DNVGL. So as you can see, this to give confidence to our partners that as Jinko, we are happy to partner with you, and we are a bankable partner, just to give you confidence that in terms of quality, in terms of certification, our modules have been able to meet all these kind of certifications. So, and you can see that recently, for the year 2021, we were awarded the seal by EUPD, Research for Australia and the MENA regions. This is more of Middle East and the Africa at large. So again, if you see that we did achieve the module index, we were the highest achiever and rate. So this to give confidence to our partners that we are a bankable partner that you can rely on. So in terms of our partners, we have a diversified strategic customer base, all the way, as I mentioned to you earlier, from IPPs, these are independent power producers, and EPCs. So as you can see, most of these EPCs or independent power producers, especially now that we are really focusing on the mini grid market, is that we are working closely with people like Redavia, NG. Then, as you can see, apart from the private entity, we also working closely with the government entities. Just to mention a few is that, like in Kenya, we are working closely with Rural Electrification Energy, who are the main initiators of these mini grids through the World Bank. So we are working closely with Rural Electrification, that is REA, which is now RELEC in Kenya. So again, we also working closely with the Rural Electrification Agency in Nigeria. And Ethiopia, we did install again some mini grids this year, of a few months ago, with the Rural Electrification Energy in Ethiopia. So what we are saying is that within the East African market, yes, we're able to share some installed base sites for these mini grid applications. So as a company, again, we fully understand that it's very important that we also engage ourselves in terms of the CSR, in terms of social responsibility. So yes, we do support quite a number of initiatives in terms of learning institutions, in terms of donating modules, just to make sure that we're able to build more of what I would call capacity in terms of understanding our products, in terms of transferring knowledge to our peers, to our to young upcoming engineers. So yes, we're able to we do engage ourselves in terms of corporate social responsibility in different regions within the sub-Saharan markets. So this is very important again, that we also involved a lot in terms of sharing the same vision in terms of the SDG goals, to make sure that come 2030, we're able to reduce the carbon emission that is out there. So what we're doing is that we do collaborate with the UN, and we are very active in terms of voicing for climate action. So you can see that we have been involved in quite a number of initiatives in climate action, like we did, as you can see, through the Germans. We also involved in the Climate Action Summit 2019. Then we also do attend development forums, just to make sure that we are at par in terms of what is happening, just to make sure that in terms of carbon emission, we also are very keen on these. So yes, what we're saying is that as Jinko, we back the UN global initiatives in terms of reducing the carbon emissions. So as Jinko, just to highlight is that we did join the UN Global Compact, which is the largest corporate sustainability initiative under the UN. So we do align ourselves in terms of operation and strategies, just to make sure that we're able to support such kind of initiatives. So we are very keen in terms of the key principles in terms of human rights, that is labor, environment, and anti-corruption. So with this, we are saying that our products have really observed such kind of initiatives, which is a positive thing for our partners and our customers.
Sammy, if you please, if you can finish within a minute, so we can have some time for Q&A. Sorry, we have now 7 minutes left. Yes. Thank you.
So I think this should be my last slide. Yes, as you can see, is that globally, we have been awarded quite a number of awards, all the way from 2015 to 2020, and we should be updating again for the recent awards that we've been awarded for year 2021. So for further reaching out to us, these are my details. You can reach us in case you have any inquiry. And you can also follow us on our Facebook page, that is Jinko Solar SSA. So I think, Monif, that is it from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, Sammy. I think the key takeaway that I can take from you is that Jinko Solar, it's you in the storage business, but Jinko Solar has been one of the leaders in the solar industry, and the bankability of the company and the local presence and the local team in multiple African countries has proven very helpful for many of Jinko's customers that were actually, in the rare cases when they needed support after sales, they found someone to reach out to, and this shall continue as well for the storage business. I think with this, we can move in then to the Q&A section, where I think at least we can manage to answer five, 6 questions from what we received. And the first one probably we'll start with you, Titus, please. First question actually is about the price of the system. So they say that energy storage is super expensive. Lithium-ion batteries are expensive. Then how does it make sense to use it for also mini-grid applications and still make profit out of that? And as a follow-up question as well to this would be, could these mini-grids actually projects be profitable without subsidies? As we know, some of them are subsidized. So if you can answer these both questions, that would be great.
Yeah, I think that's honestly a very good question, and I would start with your his first question regards to the cost. So, as I said, is that with regards to mostly mini grids, is that the initial costs should not really be overworrying, and because what we are looking into is the cost that is going to reflect on the tariff. And mostly for most of the cost related that is reflective tariffs is that they not only focus into the initial costs of the system, that is the capex. The cost is that is on the initial cost. They're also looking into the replacement costs and also other associated costs with regards to operations as well. If there's any diesel integration, so you also need to look into the fuel cost. So with regards to lithium iron phosphate, is that yes, the initial cost is quite it's not really high, but it's comparatively high compared to other technologies, but like lead acid. But look into the bigger picture in that with regards to the life cycles given from lithium iron phosphate, that we are guaranteeing that we're having 5,000 plus cycles, but with lead acid they're actually having 1,800 to 2,000 cycles. So that means that for lead acid is that the solution actually you need to factor in the replacement costs at the end of let's say less than 5 years. But for lithium ion is that you're actually working with more than 12 years, 12 to 15 years. So that means that with regards to the levelized costs of energy, it makes more sense to go with lithium iron phosphate. And and for this is that for clear understanding, you can actually even work with different modeling softwares like for the case of OMA Pro, even OMA Grid in some instances, and you will realize that you will see on the that is on the different cost of energy using different technologies. So I think we focus more on the levelized cost of energy and not on only the initial cost. Then the other thing is with regards to, of course, mini grids, in that if they're actually viable with the current quite high costs, is that yes, for viability of mini grid for the longest time is that we've been saying that mostly we've been focusing on the subsidized mini grids, but there's some few case studies in the region that we have mini grids that are not subsidized. Let's say by some of our partners. I can't really mention names in this case. Is that they are working on mini grids that are non-subsidized and it's still making economical sense, in the sense that one is that the component costs of most of the components, like the main components, the hardware components, that is the PV plus storage solutions, are going lower. And remember that the contribution factor to LCOE of these major components like PV and batteries is actually close to more than 20%. That is the influence. So with the reduction in cost, general reduction, then that means that these mini grids are going to be viable with or without subsidies. So looking into that, and also the advancement of technologies. See now that the PV modules can last for more than 20 years, that is 25 years, 25 years. And also for energy storage, we are looking into lithium ion that can last for up to 15 years. Then that means that it's really going to be viable without subsidies.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Titus. I'll get back to you a little bit, this lifetime comparison between PV and storage, because I've seen a question like that. But first I will move to ask Sami, please. There's a question from Ayodele Opasina about how to reach out to the Jinko Solar team in Nigeria if they want to inquire more about the product. And maybe I've seen also in the chat a couple of questions about how to contact you guys and how to get a quote and so on. So how would you advise our followers from Sub-Saharan Africa to reach out to you, please?
So thank you so much, Monif. So going directly to your question is that for the West African market, we have a representative in terms of a sales director who is actually in charge of the West African market. So, and we also have some distributors who we're working closely with for the West African market. So in terms of reaching us, we can always share our contacts in terms of email and probably sales phone where necessary. So it's possible we can share email and contacts for the West African market. And we can also share details for our representative in West Africa.
Perfect. So the emails are on the screen now, the emails of Titus and Sami. Please note them down just in case you want to reach out to the team. Thank you, Sami. We will just drag a little bit, 5 minutes, please stay with us because we've got some questions that really wish that we get the most important ones specially answered. And the next one is from Mahmoud Elenen, who asks about the how to compare what is the lifetime of such storage system? Is it as per the lifetime of a solar PV plant itself? That's one question from him. And the second one follow-up question from him as well is, how would you estimate the O&M costs of this BESS solution? Maybe that's more of like technical question for you, Titus. I will compare it with a third question, if you can keep up with me, just because they go in that the same direction. There's a question about some vendors that claim that their batteries have 100% DOD. And so what do you think about that? Is it something that Jinko Solar also offers? So a little bit about the lifetime of the batteries.
Okay, thank you. I think that's quite some very interesting question. And I'd like to start with your first question with regards to the lifetime. So with batteries generally, that discussions on lifetime is not really on the number of years because it varies. So what we usually focus on is the number of life cycles. Like in this case is that, as mentioned, is that for our lithium and phosphate-based solutions is that we are actually guaranteeing 35,000 cycles. So is that with gas, depending on your charge and that is your charge discharge cycles, your number of cycles per day, that is going to directly affect on the lifetime. Like just to give you some brief math, is that put 5,000 cycles, then assuming one charge and one discharge cycle per day, that means one cycle per day. So in a year, let's say working with 300 cycles, approximately 300 cycles in a year. So that means 5,000 divided by 300 cycles a year. Then you'll be able to get the approximate value, which is close to 15 years. So it's mostly tied on the number of life cycles. Then the other thing that with regards to the O&M, it's quite minimal because remember that what we invest in with regards to the solution is that we invest so much into remote monitoring, so that to be able to troubleshoot in case of any faults, in case of any alarms, we can also be able to either address this remotely, or can easily send someone to site to be able to exactly point out on where to rectify or do the repair or to do the replacement. So it's much easier to do the O&M. So the O&M cost is actually not that much. And also you see that also another part of O&M is actually replacement, in that we're investing so much into reliable solutions so that the frequency of outages, the frequency of failures is actually minimal. So that means that there's little or no that is unscheduled maintenance. Then I will now answer your last question. Let me, would you kindly reframe the question again?
The question is about some vendors that claim that their lithium-ion batteries have a DOD of 100%. So is this something that Jinko Solar offers as well, or is it technically possible?
Yeah, so just to explain to you is that what to do is that it makes more sense to give right from information to the customers. And what we are saying is that for lithium iron phosphate, you can actually do a discharge up to 100%. But remember, we don't recommend that. The reason being is that there's actually a potential thermal stress, that is thermal stress on the cells, and that will mostly cause accelerated aging. So that's why is that we prefer we prefer that you either work with there is a DOD, or rather depth of discharge between 80 to 90%. 80 to 90%. Yes, you can still go to 100%, but that is not recommendable. So why lie to you that you can go to 100%? So we prefer to give you that is exact. For you to achieve, let's say 5,000 cycles, the recommended depth of discharge is between 80 to 90%. But with 100%, that means there will be lower number of cycles.
Exactly. So it is a balance, yeah, that needs to be achieved, and usually it is achieved with much lower DOD in the end of the day. So, so thank you for the answer, Titus. Before I hand over the last question to Sami, there's a question from Mr. Abdul Habib Sharib asking about North African region. So North African region is, you can reach out, maybe you can write to Titus or Sami, and they can redirect you to the right people within Jinko Solar to answer your questions and concerns, please. And the last question, then I will ask it to Sami, is this storage solution that you offer, is it only for mini grids, for small applications, or you have in battery storage solutions for the medium and large utility scale projects as well?
So yes, very correct. What you mentioned is that we are not only focusing on mini grid, but we have our storage solutions targeting all the way from the residential, commercial, and industries, and we also targeting the utility scale projects. So our solutions would range probably from 3.2 kilowatt hour all the way to capabilities of more than 1 megawatt hour. So we able to make sure that we are able to accommodate the residential, the CNI market, and the utility scale projects.
Perfect. Perfect. So, and again, if there is anything specific, please reach out, especially for sizing, technical topics. Titus can help you with that. If you are more into pricing and stuff like that and availability, please reach out to Sami by the email addresses that are on the screen. And in the beginning of the chat history, you will find the link to the Jinko Solar Facebook page. If you haven't followed it, please follow it, because you'll find the recording there. You will find a lot of educational material that the Jinko Solar team publishes periodically on the page. And we need to stop now. Like we answered the most important questions that we have. If we missed any, please send us an email at info@solarabic.com, and we will forward you the answer, or reach out directly to Titus and Sami. Which I would like to ask to thank them very much for this very informative session. I enjoyed it, learned a lot from you, and I'm very happy that it is to see these case studies as well. Yeah, these reference projects that you have in Africa, that's a very good achievement, knowing that this technology is very still at its early days. It's very interesting to see it, to see the applications of it in Africa. And lastly, but which is very important to thank everyone who attended this webinar on Zoom or on social media. We've seen people on Facebook. There was a lot of comments on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for those that attended from many countries in Africa and also the Middle East on LinkedIn and on YouTube as well. We will be sending an email soon with the recording of this session plus presentation, so don't worry about that. If you are registered on Zoom, you will get this by email automatically in a couple of days. So I wish to thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Titus. Thank you, Sami. And I wish you a nice and sunny day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you next time. Thanks.